Does it seem harder to communicate with people these days? We're going to talk about that and more on a Clarion Voice. Good morning. This is Mark Sobowitz live from the Hub Studios in Atascadero with a Clarion Voice, along with Mike Donaldson and Debbie Buckheim is behind the scenes. And don't worry about that
On the
image. It was
controls.
nothing. It's okay.
Nothing to see here. Nothing to see here.
Oh my goodness. Today, welcome to Tuesday, June 6th. I believe it's D-Day today, the celebration of D-Day. For those of you who are veterans, my hat's off to you, sir and ma'am.
Which is Victory Day.
It's Victory Day?
That's what V-Day means.
Oh, VE Day. Okay.
The day of victory.
Okay. It's always a day of victory, I hope. Well, we're going to talk about today, we're going to talk about communication. And seems a little bit harder to do that these days, don't you think? Because I know where I work, we have a break room, and so inevitably, when I go in there, everybody's on their phone. They're not talking. What happened? What is so good about the phone? That you can't look up and talk to somebody. I don't know why. It just seems kind of interesting that people would be more willing to text than they would to talk to people on the phone. Matter of fact, yesterday, Mike was checking with me about something, and he said, "Call me." Well, fine, no problem, because we didn't leave it as a text. We just communicated by phone. So, anyways, how do you feel about that, sir?
I feel fine.
I know you feel fine,
Well,
but
yeah, it's doing something to the whole society because we don't have to talk to each other, or you do the text thing, and sometimes people aren't seeing. I mean, I know my wife Kim talks about this all the time, and you can't tell someone's emotions, their vocal, and some people seriously thought that the telephone, just the telephone, because it didn't bring you in close contact with somebody talking to them, was a way to separate. Now look how far we've come from there. It's even worse. Now you text and you go, "What do you mean by that?" Because you could think it this way. Was they being sarcastic? Because that's a real
Right.
American thing.
Yeah, you don't know. You don't know, but
you got to put a smiley face on if you're being sarcastic. You got to add emojis or something. Says this is a joke. Poke, poke.
I know. I mean, people, don't understand what eye-to-eye contact, means to people. It's just like, hello.
What does that mean? Well, yeah. But it's also a great way of not having to talk to somebody. If I don't really want to talk to this person, all I got to do is keep my nose in my phone, scrolling things.
Yeah, but what did we do before this? I mean, before the cell phone was invented, we, there was the telephone, yes, but we, went out of our way to talk to people face to face in order to, resolve issues. We didn't have all these.
Or if there is an issue, I mean, sometimes just being nice to people and just saying hello,
Yeah, because I mean, in the store, people smile at me and I say hello and whatever, and I'm face to face with them.
Right. And that's on the floor. But, it's like when I was a painting contractor, everybody stopped, the crew stops, and other crews also. You could always tell the electricians, they're the ones that broke out the folding chairs. They always had these nice beach chairs, but they would, sit them down in their own area and get a newspaper, It always seemed to be the electricians, setting up for a nice lunch. But the rest of us sat on a bucket and, ate our lunch and just talked.
Right. I,
That camaraderie is good for business. I found, because
sure.
I was, a boss
Absolutely.
for years. And so
I don't know. Can you imagine ministering to somebody without looking
with
at them
text,
face to face? Yeah, yes. I mean, it sounds facetious, but I mean, you can't minister to somebody, and you can't bring the gospel to somebody by talking to them on the phone or texting them.
that's
You
correct.
you can't do that. I mean,
That's
and that's
correct.
that's something that people have to relearn, maybe.
Eyes are the window of the soul. And when you're talking to somebody, I mean, and you're face to face, it's you can really see where they're coming from.
Well, yeah, and then that's why have we lost that art? I mean, are people so willing to hide from reality or something? I don't know.
Let's talk about why it's important. I saw a video. I've seen it before. I saw it again this morning where I think they were in junior high because these kids, it could have been high school, but this one kid saved an entire busload of kids because the the driver of the bus, the school bus, had an episode. I don't know,
Okay.
heart attack, seizure, whatever.
Right.
But he noticed how the bus was starting to swerve a bit and saw the guy was having problems. So he ran up front in a hurry, put his foot on the brake, grabbed the wheel, and then you can see his head turn because it was all on video, you know,
Okay.
yelling at the kids, call 911. And they're all going, what? And they interviewed each kid, says, well, did you see what was happening? Well, no, because I had my earbuds in, looking at my phone, listening to music. No, I was playing a game on my phone. And they all had their face down like this, and none of
Mhm.
them. So there's a situational awareness.
Right.
Life is going on around you. You got to put the phone down. I mean, and I seriously now, like I did some work the other day with my son. He was helping him out in his garage trying to build a work
Mhm.
table. I left my phone away from me, and I do that when I work now. I just leave it in my vehicle, and I'll go do my stuff so I'm not interrupted while I'm trying to do what I'm doing.
There you go.
You know, it makes for a safer.
Well, yeah, I mean, of course. I mean, if you get distracted and you're in the midst of doing something,
Somebody responded to that mean comment I made, on that one video. I've been fighting with them all morning.
I
I just laugh at some people in their comments sometimes,
I just don't get it. I mean,
because they get too
because
serious about life.
hmm?
People get too serious about life.
I know. I mean,
It's just, it's
okay, I'm as guilty as the next person as far as using my phone is concerned. But
Oh, are you really?
yes, because
Uh,
I mean, I don't use it that I mean, I use it for information if nothing else. I mean, if somebody came into a room or something like that and I was on the phone, I'd poke my head up and say hello and whatever. It wouldn't be like I was so focused on what was on the phone that I couldn't take the time to say hello to people.
well, that's good.
Yeah, because it's just like, okay, I'm old school. I mean, it's just one of those
Do you
things.
have to be old to be old school?
No, you
No.
don't. That's true. But I mean, it's just that some of these habits, I can't imagine a person who's on their phone all the time. There must be some physical thing to the fact that if their neck is down and then they're looking at their phone and they don't look up to acknowledge somebody.
Mhm.
I have a strange feeling that there is something, that causes a problem with their neck or something like that, or their
Oh yeah,
posture.
no, they're already seeing the doctors and chiropractors, seeing
Yeah.
how. Yeah, I mean, if you're playing games or doing something on your phone for a half an hour, you got to stop and you got to stretch your neck back, to get the. Oh yeah, that's what that's supposed to. Or that's what that's supposed to be,
Yeah.
because we're supposed to be like this. We're not
Right.
supposed to be like that,
Yeah.
you know.
So it's just really interesting. I mean, you were
Otherwise, God would have put eyes on the sides of our heads, right? Like deer.
you were describing something before we came on about some evangelist or whatever that was healing
Oh,
people. And okay, you looked okay, he looked into the eyes of the person,
Yeah.
and then they were slain in the spirit or whatever.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that they would do that using, I mean, that's the art of communication, looking at the person and acknowledging what's in their spirit, and then going according to what God is directing them to do as far as the healing is concerned. But they're looking at the person's eyes. They're seeing. They're not looking on a phone. I mean, I know that sounds silly, but
Well, it does. I mean, because you try to cast out a demon over text,
I know.
and is you got to see what you're looking at. That makes sense.
Yeah,
You gotta see what it is that's the problem. And I don't know if I've shared that on your program, but I have had instance where I'm looking at somebody and they got this angry look, and his wife was saying, can you help him? He's got anger issues, and this guy's really angry, but it was the Holy Spirit that spoke to me while I'm looking at the guy. I go, oh man, I said, you're not angry, you're fear. And the guy broke down like a baby
ah,
because he was actually fearful, not angry. So when you find the real source of why people are bound up,
mhm.
then they're going to be free. That's why you got to be looking.
You see, that brings up an interesting point, because you're looking at a person and you don't know what's going on in their lives. Sometimes, there may be some burden that they're shouldering, but in order to find that out, first of all, the spirit has got to, speak to you and say, okay, this is what's, going
Right.
on, and you have to be obedient. But
Right.
you wouldn't know anything if you didn't look into the person's eyes. I mean, you may use your intelligence or your wisdom or whatever, thinking, okay, oh, I know what's going on. No, you don't. Not necessarily. I mean, because okay, I had an incident last week at work.
Oh.
And so a person came up and was checking out, and she looked like she was really burdened. I don't know. I didn't know what it was at the time, and then we started talking, and she told me that she had her husband has stage 4 pancreatic cancer.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, and I said, "Oh, geez," and I started to share with her about my wife Kathy, and that she passed away and whatever. So we talked.
Was that encouraging?
Sorry.
No. So you were trying to encourage her?
Yes, I was trying to encourage her, but I'm looking at her and I could see the pain, and then I knew what the source of the pain was, because it was a real heavy, burden on her to watch her husband, suffer,
Right.
with that. And so I said, "Okay, I'm going to pray for you." In the middle of Target department store, I'm standing there and I'm praying for this woman to bring her encouragement, but I wouldn't have known anything if it was by text or anything like that, and the mere looking at the person, and I could be wrong sometimes, as far as whatever the burden may be, or the person doesn't want to discuss it,
Which is another
right?
case. Yeah.
But I felt like empowered to do that without thinking about it. But I only knew about that just by looking at her and and then talking with her and seeing the pain and hearing her voice. I wouldn't have known all that if that had happened in another circumstance, or if it was by text or by Zoom or whatever it happens to be. That's not human contact. And it was just such a freeing thing to do that, to know that I actually made direct contact with somebody and encouraged them to deal with their the challenge of seeing their loved one with such a hideous disease. But I wouldn't have known that if I didn't look at them or engage in conversation face to face. That's what bugs the heck out of me about the fact that people do that. They just, because like you said earlier, you can't tell what emotions are behind a text, or just because you send an emoji, so that doesn't necessarily reflect what they're going through.
Right.
um and sometimes on the phone, for example, if you're talking to somebody and you're trying to help them and whatever, you don't know what's going on in their lives and whatever. They could fake it like anybody's business. They get a best actor or actress award for hiding it on the phone. You're not looking at them directly. So I just, I wish people would get back to that, because I know that when we meet on Monday nights, we talk to one another. We share with one another, we pray for one another, but we're doing it directly in contact with another person. I can't imagine you doing worship by text or by, I mean, because it's not the same, or prayer or whatever, or reaching. I mean, there's been so many healings that have happened just by direct prayer, but it's direct contact. It's not you. I mean, okay, technology is fine to a point.
Well, it's both helped and hurt,
Yes,
you know,
and that's
and it's getting worse because AI is crazy.
oh, oh, oh my goodness, that's another subject entirely.
Okay, that's next week. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I mean, by the way, folks, this is not AI generated. Okay, this is like live on a Clarion Voice. It's not artificial intelligence. Trust me, this is not that. You would. Well, maybe you wouldn't know, but that's not the point.
Yeah.
The point is that it is getting a little scary, because you don't know whether or not the thing is, actually the what's going on or not,
Right.
because it's just an image. But getting back to the point about communication, unless you look at the person directly in the eyes and talk with them and hear their voice and see their emotions, you don't know. You don't get to the heart of the matter, and that's what I think is the problem. People don't want to get to the heart of the matter. They want to just isolate themselves.
Well, I think politicians are like that. Politicians don't go down and actually really talk to the people that are hurting. Yeah, they keep calling this thing a homeless crisis that we're having here in California and San Francisco specifically. Oh,
Mhm.
would build a lot of tiny homes for them. They're not talking about the lack of mental capacity
Right.
or the drugs. That's what's going on. It's not because I don't have a home. It's because I'm drugged out and I'm crazy. That's what's going on with these people. But they won't know it because they don't go down and talk to them.
Yes, exactly. Because there are people that we have interviewed on a Clarion Voice. Aurora William is one, that I can
Right.
think of,
Yeah.
that literally goes down into the, riverbed or
Right.
whatever it happens to be and talks to these people and relates to them. And so she wouldn't know what their problems would be if she didn't do that. I mean, you can,
Right.
you
And
know,
she
and
can, and she knows them by name.
yes,
This is incredible. I know Kim and Dano were like that. They were feeding a lot of the poor in around town for a time, and they knew all their names. And still, when we're driving down, oh, there's Roger. There goes Roger, or whatever, because they know these guys for and what they're dealing with, and it's just it makes a difference. That is what makes the difference.
oh yeah, most
Is
definitely.
is being involved in other people's lives, and the only way you can do that is by communicating.
Right. And that's something that we all need to remember. I mean,
Yeah.
by talking with somebody directly, like Mike and I are doing right now, and getting to the heart of the matter, whatever it happens to be in a person's life, you have to communicate. Get off your phone, get in your car, drive to the person's house or whatever, meet them in a restaurant, but look at them face to face and communicate with them. Because I assure you that the ministering of the gospel that we are always ascribing to do day by day does not happen by text. It doesn't happen by phone. We have to look at the person and we have to share with them the gospel face to face. So I implore you to take the time to talk to somebody face to face today. Forget the phone, forget the text, forget the Zoom, whatever it happens to be. Look at them in the eye and share with them your heart or encourage them or whatever it happens to be. And I assure you, your communication will be that much more enhanced. I just hope people hear that and take that into practice. This is Mark Sobowitz from the Hub Studios. with a clarion voice.